Hi folks, we are starting this class with a doozy of a question, which is, what is economics? You might have a preconceived notion in your head of what economics is. It might be the stock market or Adam Smith or some other guy who wrote a book 300 years ago. It might be capitalism versus communism. All these things touch on economics, but none of them do economics justice. Economics is much broader than that. Economics is the study of how humans make decisions in the face of scarcity. These can be individual decisions, family decisions, business decisions, societal decisions. There are two main branches of economics: microeconomics, which focuses on the actions of individuals or individual agents, such as households, workers, and businesses, and macroeconomics, which focuses on broad issues such as growth, unemployment, inflation, and trade balance. Beyond that, there are several subfields of economics, and depending on who you ask, they might be defined a little differently. One we will talk about in this class is development economics, which focuses on improving fiscal, economic, and social conditions in developing countries. One we won't talk about much in this class is econometrics, which is the statistical and mathematical study of economic issues. This class is fairly light on the statistics. And one of the fastest growing fields in economics is behavioral economics, which is the study of cognitive and emotional dimensions of economic decisions. It is essentially the baby of psychology and economics, and we will dabble a little bit in behavioral economics, but it won't be our bread and butter in this class. Continuing our discussion of economics, there are two key microeconomic concepts that are going to ground our study of the rural economy of Alaska. First, all goods and services are scarce. Scarcity means that human wants for goods, services, and resources will always exceed what is available. So economists assume that this is always true no matter how wealthy of a country you live in. And if you think about it, we live on a planet with finite resources. We won't ever be able to meet every single individual's wants to the very, very last individual. The other key concept that's going to ground our analysis in this class is that every choice comes with an opportunity cost. Opportunity cost indicates what one must give up to obtain what he or she desires. So, what is the next best alternative, and how much does it cost? For example, if I go salmon fishing, the next best alternative use of my time would have probably been to stay and do work. I didn't do that, so the opportunity cost of my time by going salmon fishing is a couple lost work days. The productivity from those days, the fact I had to use a couple vacation days, that's all gone. Another example that might hit close to home, college degrees. In general, if you get a college degree, you earn a higher salary. So why aren't more people getting college degrees? The opportunity cost of a college degree isn't just the dollar cost of the tuition, as well as books, room and board, and all the other expensive things you have to pay when you're studying at a university. But it's also the hours, the time that you spent studying at university that you could have used to do something else. You could have been working a job during those hours. So in that case, your opportunity cost would be the lost wages from a job you aren't able to work because you're too busy studying. You could have been using that time to play with your kids if you have them, or your dog. And that also is a lost cost. Okay? So right off the bat, it seems like there's some problems with applying economic thinking to rural Alaska. So economists oftentimes look at development and growth at the national level. Rural Alaska and New York City are both part of the same country, but they're extremely different. So we are going to be looking at a hyperlocal version of economics in this class. Second, measuring the rural economy is challenging. First, there's an emphasis on subsistence as opposed to a money-based economy in rural Alaska. But even the money-based transactions in rural Alaska are hard to measure because rural Alaska is remote. It's just not an easy place to study. We will do our best, and not everything has to be quantified, but you will also all become researchers in this class in finding primary source of data to help relieve the fact that there aren't publicly available sources of data about the rural economy of Alaska. Last but not least, there are some basic economic principles, like the idea we just talked about that our wants and needs are limitless, or the idea that we act in our own self-interest, which we haven't talked about quite yet, but was in your textbook, that appear in conflict with traditional indigenous values. And these are the very people that inhabit rural Alaska. So to address this, in this class, we'll start with examining aspects of the local and regional rural Alaskan economy. So what are we going to do in this class to address these concerns? So as I mentioned before, we are going to examine aspects of the regional rural Alaskan economy, sometimes even when quantitative data is lacking at a hyper-local level. Second, we are also going to seek to describe economic behavior as it actually exists. That means we will use positive statements which describe the world as it is, or statements of fact. We will try to avoid normative statements which describe the world how it should be. These are statements that are subjective and matters of opinion, because this class is not here to provide moral instruction or tell you what's right or wrong. Economic analysis isn't supposed to lead you to any particular ethical or political conclusion. It's supposed to give you some tools to analyze these issues for yourself. So John Maynard Keynes, who's a very famous British economist, said, and this is a paraphrase here, that economics teaches you how to think, not what to think. And that will be a little bit of our motto for this class, because my goal here is to give you some tools and apply it in the context of rural Alaska and allow you to form your own opinions about what. Okay. Thank you, guys.